Now, after the lunch, I'd like to talk about active exercises. I, as a somatotherapist, how I work with CMT patients, that's what I'd like to talk about. And what are the main developmental areas which I think, and which is supported by literature, that these are important areas for development as part of active mobilization. The professor talked about various categories of CMT. Now I only mentioned a few important features for the four variants of CMT. Depending on which category we are talking about, you can talk about muscle weakness either in the extremities or in the case of CMT2, also core musculature and vocal cords are affected. So speech therapists play a role in development. For CMT4, audiologists are part of the team. The symptoms are quite varied in this case. So this is how the symptoms, the variation of symptoms for CMT look like, which means that it's not only symptoms that are varied, but developmental actions must be varied as well. As for movement development, we must emphasize that we need therapists who have university level qualification, who have several years of training where they learn various types of movement development, movement therapy. Depending on their training, either their anatomical knowledge or their pedagogical knowledge will be more emphasized, but preparing for activities of daily life are important for all trainings, and looking at certain curricula, emphasis is laid on rare diseases. In the case of somatotherapy, there's quite an emphasis of rare diseases, but I experience in everyday life that other health professionals try and get further training whenever they have a client who is affected with rare diseases. But we must pay attention to the fact that therapists providing service must have the right qualification. And there are other therapies beyond movement development. We have today heard about occupational therapy from Tibor Vámos. Today we have heard about psychology, which is very important for me. It must be part of the services, of the support provided to families. And we have other fields. Sensory symptoms are important for the sensation. And we have a lot of possibilities for development in this field, but you must pay attention to the qualification of the person providing the service, whether they have experience in rare diseases. I have mentioned hydrotherapy, audiologists, and other supportive and auxiliary therapies that might be needed depending on the person and their needs. This is always the deciding factor. And now, moving to development, movement development, the basic feature is trust. If we don't have trust in the capabilities of our patient, and if our patient does not have trust in us, it will be very difficult. Our common goal is symptom reduction. For CMT, we are talking about progressive disease. So the goal is to reduce symptoms or to slow down progression. Unfortunately, we are not able to cure this disease. We are trying to preserve and use existing capabilities for the activities of daily life. We are trying to preserve the range of motion of joints to make everyday life easier for our patients. And if they need assistive devices, we teach their use for the people living with CMT. The development must be adapted to the symptoms. For this, we need a general and complex assessment, which all therapists must carry out based on their knowledge and therapy. There are specific measurements, and one of our foreign speakers will talk about one of such measurements. Manual therapy can be carried out based on the right qualification. As for children with CMT, the first part is always manual therapy. I use the Pfeffer-Roth manual therapy. After that, we continue with passive and active mobilizations, warming up to prepare for active movement, to mobilize the joints. I lay special emphasis on breathing exercises. I will talk about that later, but breathing exercises is an important part of development because you need the right oxygen saturation. It's important for people with CMT as for others, and it can be followed by active exercises. So, moving to breathing exercises, it's part of our basic life functions. It's the exchange of oxygen and CO2. To simplify matters, which is necessary for our performance, for our brain to work, for our cognitive functions, and also for the functioning of the muscles. That is why it is important to carry out breathing exercises with people with CMT because muscles are affected, and in order to strengthen these muscles, we need oxygen. And also, in the case of CMT, the diaphragm is often affected, which must function correctly for breathing. So we must pay attention to that. Given the fact that the diaphragm is affected, research showed that lung capacity is reduced. So the aim of breathing exercises is to increase breathing efficiency, to make the coordination of breathing muscles and auxiliary muscles more conscious. We try to put in place the right breathing technique, and we have an effect on the chest, the spine, the upper extremities as well. A breathing exercise is quite exhausting, but it can be efficient. You can see that we can achieve results with this. You can see on this picture. We have various breathing exercises, which I have listed here. breathing in through the nose, breathing out more slowly through the mouth. You have the controlled abdominal breathing. It can be very exhausting at the beginning. This is my experience that you need 3 or 4 controlled abdominal breathing, and after that you need to have some resting period for people with CMT. And yoga breathing and swimming can also have a good effect on increasing lung capacity and the breathing function. After this warm-up, we can continue with the active exercises, which is aimed at strengthening the muscles, developing the sense of balance, increasing endurance, developing fine motoric skills, and developing the coordination of movements. We must not overburden our patient with CMT. Their sensations are different, and overburdening can happen more easier, faster. So if you get the smallest signal, you should have some pause. Pain is not acceptable. It might mean overburdening or overstretching. And Melinda has mentioned that micro tears can cause a problem, and it will slow down healing, and scar formation will later make movements more difficult. Let's see a couple of examples. I always combine passive and active methods, and I think it's a good approach. It's adapted to the difficulties and the situation of the patient, even from week to week. It is followed by mobilization to preserve flexibility, to increase muscle strength. We must pay attention to the safety of balance. We have isometric and isotonic exercises depending on the state of the patient, how much energy they have, what they are capable of doing. And the development of standing balance is very important, given the fact that feet are often affected. We must pay attention to this balance. A few examples, what I use: opening up the chest, breathing exercises, strengthening core muscles. For stability is very important. We must pay attention to switch off compensatory techniques, because I see often that they execute movements with techniques, fixed techniques, which are not necessarily advantageous. For example, I start a movement from the shoulder instead of starting the movement from the wrist. So these patterns must be switched off. Lower extremities must be strengthened. They are very important for everyday life. Fine motorics must be developed. They are very important for everyday life. And here is the literature I used. Thank you very much. I was trying to keep it short and transfer all my knowledge in 15 minutes. What I'd like to emphasize is that there's no technique you cannot use in CMT, or rather, obviously, you cannot use exercises that are too painful, that would overburden the patient. And you always have to pay attention to the reactions, the signals of the patient. So you can be creative, but you must be very attentive of the reactions of your patient with CMT. Thank you.
Köszönjük szépen!
Thank you very much.